Okay, so this is going to be a quick one. I've had the alternator cover removed because I was doing the pickup sensor for the ignition, which resulted in me draining a little bit of oil, and I was planning to do an oil change anyway. So before I go putting some new oil in to top this up before I can test the ignition system, I'm just going to carry on with the oil change. So we're going to pull the drain plug out of the bottom of the sump, drain the rest of the oil, change the oil filter, and then we'll fill it back up and hopefully get the bike running. So naturally, the drain plug is on the bottom of the sump at the lowest point, and it takes that's a 14mm socket I'm going to use here. So we'll pull that out. You just want to make sure obviously you've got something suitable for collecting the oil that drains out. Now, I've already drained most of the oil out through the alternator cover, which is why I only have this small pan here. Now, if you're going to do this yourself when you have full capacity, then you're going to want to have something underneath that's obviously going to be able to take the capacity of oil that's retained within the engine. Now the plug that's on the bottom of the sump that you take out to let the oil out, this is magnetic, which you can feel if you get a ferris tool. Now the idea of this is that any ferrous particles that end up in the bottom of the sump will be drawn and stick to the plug rather than continue to recirc around your oil system. It's always worth just having a quick check to see what sort of residues retained on it, and of course give it a clean before you put it back in. And you can actually see the magnet on the bottom of it there. Now the bike should be upright for fully draining the oil. I've got it sitting on the side stand at the moment rather than the centre stand, just because the surface I'm working on is on a little bit of an incline. So I'll just level the bike up a bit, and we can see there that the oil's stopped draining out. Now having a look in my Haynes manual here, we can see that the engine oil drain bolt has a torque of 25 Newton meters. Making sure that the surface where the bolt goes is clean. I'm going to thread the bolt by hand first, and then with the torque then set to 25, tighten it up. Now the oil filter is fitted just behind the sump. You can see it has these flat surfaces around the base of it, so that'll fit an oil filter removal tool. So I don't own the correct socket to fit on the end of the oil filter to remove it. Normally I use this strap wrench to remove filters, but I don't have the room to get it in, so in this case I'm going to be using this pipe wrench. Now as you take the filter off, there will be some more oil comes out, so make sure you got your container or your protection underneath as you back it off. So this is the filter that's come off, and as you can see it's a high flow HF204, so a non-genuine Triumph filter. I haven't used any of the high flow gear myself, but I have seen in some of the auto shops oil filters and air filters from high flow. So you can let me know if anybody else is using these, but I've picked up the genuine Triumph, which is part number T1218001. Now I picked up the oil filter and the oil as a kit, and the oil that came with that kit is this. So it's Castrol Power 1 Racing Oil 10W40, and this is a fully synthetic 10W40 4-stroke oil. If we have a look here in the Haynes manual again, we can see that the engine oil capacity with an oil filter change is 3.8 litres, and the oil type should be 10W40 semi or fully synthetic. Now occasionally you'll see that it's okay to install a dry filter, but more often than not it's recommended to fill the oil filter first before installing it onto the engine. So I'm going to fill up the filter and then we'll get it screwed on. And then lastly, before you go screwing it on, you just want to wet the seal with some of that nice new clean oil. Always be careful when putting fillers on not to cross thread them. Now the Haynes manual says that the filter should be tightened to 10 Newton meters. To be able to do that you would need to have the right socket to fit on the end of the filter, which I don't, and if I'm honest, I've never torqued an oil filter in my life. I usually just do them hand tight. and then that way when it comes to the next guy or yourself taking it off, you shouldn't have too many problems. So to fill with oil, as you should know, this is where you do it from. I have this nice shiny filler cap, so we're just going to remove this, and then unless you want to make a mess, you probably want to use some sort of funnel, so I'm going to stick that in. Now, bearing in mind that the manual says that it's got a capacity of 3.8 litres when changing the oil and the filter. As we can see, the glass is now empty, so I'm going to fill it up, stopping a little bit early, and then we'll level the bike up and check if the level is between the two marks there. Now, as this is a 4 litre container of oil, I should be able to almost completely empty it, so we'll just stop a little bit short, maybe about 3.5, and we'll check the level on the block. As you can see on the side of the container here, there's actually a little indicator where you can see through as to how much oil is left. So that's about 3.5, a little bit more than that, maybe litres inside. I'm just going to give that a couple of minutes to settle out, and then we'll level the bike up and have a look. Now, as we can see there, the level's quite near the top mark. Now, if we drop the bike back on its side stand, you see the level going down. So it's important to follow the instructions and check the level when the bike's leveled up. Don't just overfill it because you think that the level's dropped, when actually it's because the bike's sitting on its stand. Now, as we're in the zone doing filters, I'm going to do the air filter as well. So this is an original Triumph T200 1548 air filter, and we're going to whip off this cover here, pull out the one that's inside and stick the new one in. Very easy to replace. You've literally got 1, 2, 3 bolts to take out, and then the intake cover just comes off. Now, as we can see here, in the past somebody's fitted a K&N oiled filter. I dabbled a bit with these on cars when I was a bit younger, but I was never really a fan of them, to be honest. So if anybody watching this has any thoughts to share on K&N filters, then please feel free. But for the moment, I'm going to stick in this genuine Triumph filter. Okay, so there you have it. Oil changed, filter changed, air filter changed. On to the next one. Catch you later.